So in this video, I'll be going over my top 10 currently ongoing anime as of 2021. Keep in mind, I haven't even started any new shows from the winter season since there's just too much to keep up with right now. Who knows, maybe some of these shows I'm missing will end up on next year's list. Alright, without further ado, let's get into it. So starting off at number 10 is that one time I got reincarnated as a slime, or slime for short. I never expected to like another isekai this much, especially one with such a ridiculous name. Although, extremely long names for fantasy anime seems common practice these days. Regardless, the anime is extremely funny, warm-hearted, and surprisingly emotional. It's really satisfying to see the most unlikely hero beat the odds and slowly work towards a better life for him and those around him. Not to mention the fight scenes do kinda pop off. If you can handle a bit of fan service here and there, I highly recommend trying Slime. Up next at number 9 is Jujutsu Kaisen. The trailer and artwork for Jujutsu Kaisen gave me high expectations for it to be the next big shonen anime to blow up on the scene. Despite my unrealistically high expectations, the show still managed to surpass what I hoped for. The animation and fight scenes are spectacular. Yet, I don't believe that those are the true selling points of the show. Jujutsu Kaisen isn't reinventing the shonen wheel or anything, but it still manages to stand out, and that's easily attributed to the characters and humor. I wholeheartedly believe the show will be just as popular as Demon Slayer eventually, and the only reason the show isn't higher on my list is simply how new it is. Up next at number 8 is Dr. Stone. Much like Slime, Dr. Stone is a satisfying show to watch. The main character Senku is trapped in a world without technology, and we get to watch him pull off his boy genius shenanigans to bring the Stone Age to the modern era. The characters and humor are great, but what really does it for me are the inner workings of basic technology that we take for granted. Something as simple as a light bulb requires several inventions and perfect precision. I've never enjoyed learning as much as I have with Dr. Stone. Consider this Bill Nye the anime, and I highly recommend it. Up next at number 7 is My Hero Academia. My Hero is definitely the most popular and mainstream anime out right now. I personally feel that the most recent season of My Hero may have suffered from rushed scenes and some wonky pacing, but the show still manages to deliver some of the most insane high-budget fight scenes in the entire list. Even if I'm not as invested as I was in the earlier seasons, I'm still definitely sticking around for the ride. Up next at number 6 is Demon Slayer. Another extremely popular anime, but very well deserving. Out of all the shows on my list, this one may have the most attractive art style for me personally. It's a very polished show, with amazing characters, animation, and humor. The show pretty much sells itself. You'd be pretty hard pressed to find anyone who watches anime who doesn't like this show. If you really haven't seen Demon Slayer, I can't recommend it to you enough. Up next at number 5 is Golden Kamuy, and I'll forever not know if I'm pronouncing that right. Several characters are on the hunt for gold, and watching them work together, bond, and often fight to the death is truly an experience. There are no insane superpowers or magical abilities at play, it's just straight hand-to-hand knife, gun, and sometimes bomb combat. The characters and humor are a nice bow on top of an already amazing show that explores native culture, the effects of war, and especially the effects of greed. From here on out, we're reaching shows that I already consider 10 out of 10s, even if they aren't complete. The rating, of course, is subject to change, but right now, I see them as absolute masterpieces. Starting off with number 4 is Beastars. When I first heard about Beastars, I was concerned for 2 reasons. The first concern was that the show would feel like a Zootopia ripoff. The main characters are a boy wolf and a female rabbit who live in a world with tensions between predator and prey. Okay, so maybe Beastars did rip off Zootopia, but it has a completely different approach. Beastars is a much more psychological and dark story. The interactions between predator and prey species takes on a lot more weight when animals are actually being murdered and eaten. So yeah, I guess Beastars is just a rated R Zootopia, but that's something I never knew I needed until I got it. The second concern was about the animation. Beastars is an almost fully CGI anime. In the past, we've seen how anime and CGI don't tend to go well together. Yet, Beastars still manages to look amazing. Beastars proves that CGI was never the issue, it was a matter of execution. That, coupled with an interesting story and good characters, makes the show a must-watch for sure. I find that I have a hard time getting into fantasy-heavy shows and movies. Slime, of course, is an exception, but for example, I'm not really big into Game of Thrones or Lord of the Rings. I used to think that this was because I didn't care for the medieval aesthetic. That was until I watched Vinland Saga. Vinland Saga made me realize that medieval stories aren't exclusive to magical fantasies. There's no need for superpowers and abilities, just a character's skill with a sword and a drive to win creates some of the most intense and memorable fight scenes. This, coupled with an incredibly dark story that revolves heavily around revenge, power, and loss, makes for an anime that is easily a masterpiece, and number 3 on my list. Do yourself a favor and watch Vinland Saga if you haven't already. Just a moment ago, I said that I have a hard time getting into fantasy, and well, technically my number 2 on this list is a fantasy, yet it hardly feels like it. Promised Neverland is a story about an orphanage, where children live happily until adoption, although things are not at all how they seem. One of the most exciting features of the show is the mystery, so I won't give anything away. What I will say is that you will constantly be on your toes with this show. The ups and downs are all surprises. As soon as one question is answered, more arise. The ability to keep you guessing is a strong suit of the anime. Promised Neverland is incredibly clever, dark, and so entertaining. Season 2 is currently ongoing, so if you haven't seen the show yet, now is the perfect time to check it out. And now, the moment you've all been waiting for. My number 1 ongoing anime is Attack on Titan. When I started watching anime 6 years ago, Attack on Titan was my introduction. At first, I was sold on the world building and mystery. How are these walls built? What's in the basement? Why is Titan? If Promised Neverland is a mystery, then Attack on Titan is a saw puzzle created by L himself. What really makes Attack on Titan transcend its mystery and world building is the execution. The anime would only be half as good if not for the themes of revenge, war, and determination. I don't think I've ever watched a show with such foresight and attention to detail, and yet it all blends together perfectly with the themes. I could sit here and rave about Attack on Titan forever, so I'll probably save that for another video. All I can do now is continue enjoying the 4th season as my number 1 ongoing anime comes to a close. Thank you guys so much for making it to the end of this video. Let me know how your list looks in the comments, and feel free to recommend an anime if you didn't see it on the list. Be sure to subscribe if you aren't already, and hopefully, I'll see you in the next one.